Hello everyone, welcome to the first devlog video about Python graphics engine that I'm developing, Trivial Engine. Today I will be talking a bit about scatter nodes and scatter algorithms. So these new scatter nodes are actually very easy to use. So I just create some basic primitive, let's say torus. And we can use these mesh scatter nodes. So let's say plane circular. So as you can see here on the image, there is presented points. These are each point has its x and y coordinate, and they are distributed in the space from -1 to 1. And they can be we can get them with this back socket. So how to scatter them? You can just connect entity with this entity. So as I said, these are values from -1 to 1. So that's why these have this intensity parameter. So if we make it higher, we can see that now they are not distributed -1 to 1, but -28 to 28. And then we have automatically scattered these torus in the 3D space. Actually in the XZ space, as you can see here. We can also change it to whatever we want, and it's automatically updated. Also we can add more points, we can rotate it. And the thing is, this is actually instance rendered, so this is all rendered in one draw call. Also we can change the torus. Let's say we change some division to something smaller, let's say 5, and we have very low poly torus. Now it's too much points, so you cannot see it. But that's basically how it works. So these plane scatter nodes are actually simplified version of much more complex node. They're wrapped around it, and that's instance rendering node, or in this case mesh transformer transforms GPU. This node, as you can see, has much more parameters, so you don't have to just scatter nodes around plane. You can actually rotate them, scale them, or do much more stuff. So let's see how to do that using this node. It's gonna be much more complicated, but in the end it's much more powerful. So we will use this mesh, it's a duck, and let's just smooth shade it. Fine. Okay, so we have these scatter nodes. So let's just say we use a random scatter. And as we have always previously told, the values are -1 in a range -1 to 1. So these values are in a two-dimensional array. So in this case we have 296 points, and they are in two columns. So first column is x values and second column is y values. To get these values we can use math node, which is a get vector column, and to get we get the first column, and we need one more to get the second column. As you can see now, there are just 296 elements and not times 2. So we now have x and y values. If you just put them here, we will have instance render this mesh, but as we said, these are just in a small range, so we need to multiply these values just so we can see the results of instance rendering. So we need a math node float and put some higher number, let's say 500. And now we need to multiply both of these x and y values. So we create multiply 1 and we create multiply second. So we use x's here and we use y's here, and we multiply this one and we multiply this one. So we want to scatter this duck. We connect it here. We put x values to the x, and we can put y values to the z. And there you have it. Now we have these ducks. As you can see, this is it involves much more steps than we had with the plane scatter nodes, but it allows us to do much more stuff, like we can now scale or rotate objects with different arrays. And obviously everything is editable in real time. You can make much more points, you can make this even higher. There is a lot of stuff to be done. Also, we can edit this using looper. let's make a looper node. And we have 500 points. We can start with, let's say, 100 and go all the way to the 600, use it increments of 10, and then loop through these points. And we have these nasty results, which is probably too fast. We just use 2 frames per second. So we now get random scatter 2 times every second. Nice. So one thing that's bugging me about these plane scatter nodes is that we have this intensity. Let's just pick plane grid. And intensity multiplies both x and y axis. So we should probably try to make intensity x and intensity y. So I just change it right away. So first we need to find the plane grid. Just for clarification, this is configuration file. So all the data for actually creating nodes comes from this massive file. And this is configuration for the plane grid file. This is just basic configuration for what the inputs can be, something about header or what's the parameter in the title of that node, and this is basically the attributes. And in the list of attributes you can see intensity. So we need to change it. Let's just call it intensity x and create intensity y. Naming the nodes should be clear, so let's just call it intensity x, intense y. We can rename it later, but basically this is okay so far. Intensity x and intensity y, and we have additional comma here. So now we have to find this plane grid module. And this is basically how we create this node. And as you can see here, one of the attributes is intensity. So this has to match. So we have intensity x, let's put it here, and intensity y. And as you can see here, we get points. And these points we multiply with this intensity, and that's what we use for the plane scatter. So because we are now multiplying with x and y, we need the numpy array to multiply x and y with different values. So first we have to import numpy, and then we have to multiply this with numpy array, which is basically intensity x and intensity y. And that should be it. So plane grid should now be changed. So if we go here, run the application, create some primitive, no, I just destroy it. It's probably not the best pick, but okay. And then we have mesh scatterer, and we edited plane grid. And now as you can see, we have intensity x and intensity y. So if we put this entity here and we change only one intensity, we can get results like this. So it was very easy change of the application using mainly configuration file. So for today that is it. Thank you guys very much for watching, and see you next time.